Let's talk some toys in here.
Hey, what's up everyone? Today is the Man-Child. Okay, so today up for review, we're going to go over the new Masters of the Universe, Masterverse, new Eternia Whiplash. Yeah, another figure in hand. Looks just great, you know, just overall size, cool looking box, all accessories you get. Now, they did make him an oversized figure, a larger figure, kind of going back to the 2000X Whiplash. But he had a kind of a different redesign where it says more traditional. If you were to take away the new Eternia style concept armor and helmet and stuff like that. I thought they would do that with Clawful, but they didn't. They kept him traditional, which is fine. Well, yeah, looking good. I mean, all accessories. I do like the head sculpt. I heard some complaints. People got him really didn't look mean enough or something. It looks like a typical Whiplash to me. We'll see when we get out of the package, but yeah, it just looks great. And here's a quick look at the art and back of the box of the new Eternia Whiplash. Yeah, pretty neat. I like that. I like that head with the open mouth, or the battle ready head, as I call it. I wish this figure would have came with another head with an open mouth. You know, we always know Whiplash to have the mouth closed and the teeth up in position, one down. So I get why they went with that route with the head. It's fair to go back to the vintage and classics and stuff like that, but it would have been neat to have that head anyway. Pretty cool art. And here's a close-up look at the bio. You want to pause and read that. And these are the 4 single card figures as part of the Wave 9 series. And here's a little additional art on the right-hand side of the box of Whiplash in his classic or vintage form. I think when I'm all done with the review, that's how I'm going to set up my Whiplash, going back old school. Okay, and here's a quick look around with the new Eternia Whiplash out of box and those accessories. And of course, we don't have the tail on. We'll get to that soon. Yeah, it's definitely feels like something going back to the vintage Whiplash 2000X because of his size and an ogre. It's a yeah, a little bit of a redesign, especially as a very hunched pose, even in the legs and the neck, from what I can see. Bringing in Whiplash for a closer look. Check out the helmet, the head, the face, the whole deal. Yeah, looking, you know, it's pretty cool. I don't mind it. I like it. I like the way the fangs are sculpted, paint up in there. You got, like, I guess one tooth facing down on this side to where, like, the classics and the vintage always had the tooth coming out the front, or the nose tooth. And I do have the classics loose and the origins. We'll bring them in and compare them and try to mix some parts a little later. But yeah, not bad. Now, here's the new Eternia concept helmet, I want to call it. I don't know if this ever showed up in any comic books or Filmation or anything like that. Any inspiration to go back to this figure. I think it's just their own design choice. But, all right, let's take the helmet off. Here we go. Closer look at the head. Yeah, very ogre-like, but feels like Whiplash. The eyes, like the way the eyes are, okay, painted, not bad. Eyelash up here, you can see all the details, the hair sticking out. As far as the articulation, so we can only go about that far down, go back, and of course side to side. Now you can see, yeah, it's very, the neck really, the posture is really going forward, very much of a hunch. We'll take a better look when we get the armor off, but a little mixed on that. It's not terrible. I get what they're trying to do, but I just wanted to point that out. So for a real quick head comparison, I'm going to bring in the classics for a second. Once again, we'll get into parts and head swaps and stuff later, but just wanted to kind of show you what it looks like as far as the difference in heads and redesign and stuff like that. And here's a quick look at that helmet off the head. So you want to check that out. Really soft, you know, gummy material. So it might fit on the classics and maybe the origins. I don't know. We'll try it out a little bit. But pretty cool. It's all like a metallic silver plating all around the helmet. And you got these purple horns and everything's all... Horns and nothing don't come off. It's all part of one sculpt. Take a look at that. So moving down to Whiplash's buck and chest area, and of course this armored. Take a look at that. Pretty cool. It's a unique design, purplish color, just like the helmet and everything. I guess kind of going back to Skeletor and his some of his favorite colors or whatnot. Kind of front and the back there. Now so there's 2 straps here, right? We can see if you move the arm out of the way. So you're gonna pop, take it off. So you got this buckle strap here. We're gonna pop. And then same on the other side. And then it looks like we got to take the head off. There you go. So the head popped right off. And the armor's going to pull right off like that. So we'll take a close look at the armor off the body. Once again, yeah, soft material. Just like the helmet. Right, got like supposed to be fur or something, but it's plastic on both sides. Painted a dark blue. Got some like rivets or gold buttons or something all over painted. Okay, so taking the armor off, putting the head back on Whiplash. Let's take a look at his overall buck and armored. Yeah, very reminiscent of what we all know Whiplash, that hard chest type of armor, but it's a little bit of a redesign than the vintage or classics. And you got this big overhang because of the cut in there for the articulation. Yeah, I guess you can go overlook it for just a heavier chest armor there. Now you can see. So spinning them around, here's the back. We're going to put the tail on in a second. You want to take a look at all that. And now here's a better look at the head. Like it's yeah, really once again hunched forward. It's you kind of straighten it out, I guess. With the arm on, doesn't look too bad, but definitely a redesign from the regular classics or vintage. And as far as the articulation here, so we can spin back and forth like that with the armored or the buck, and then go forward, and all back about that far is going to be hindered by this tailpiece there. So once again, with the armored off, we'll just take a quick look between the classics and the Masterverse Whiplash. I mean, obviously it's a lot bigger, but I just want to give you an overall look of the typical design. It goes all the way back to the vintage and what they did with the classics and the new Masterverse. So moving on to the tail, check that out. Now it looks like it has a bendy wire or something, or some kind of, so it does move, and you can kind of, oh, that's cool. Goes back and forth and bends and stays in position. There's the bottom, right, top, and then it goes in. So all it's going to do is just plug right up to the main body like this, snap in, can spin, right? And that's the articulation. We know it can bend. That's pretty cool. So moving down to the stomach and the waist area, so we know he can articulate up in the ab crunch. So we can spin at the waist, just taking a look at this belt here, because I want to remove the belt too and then break him down to the standard traditional Whiplash, and then we'll take a look at that. Yeah, pretty cool belt, something like Skeletor. It's only redesigned just for Whiplash. These pieces are flexible here, some big gold steel belt going all around here, and then if you turn them to remove it, it's just going to be a buckle pop here. And then the belt pull off like that. So with the belt off, it's a closer look at that. Yeah, same thing, soft material. It's all gold on the inside and painted here. Alright, so we have all the main accessories off. That made him the new Eternia Whiplash. Now we have our more traditional Whiplash, going back to classics to vintage, so take a look at that. Pretty cool. Right, we have the tail on. Yeah, it looks just like Whiplash. I'm liking it, but a lot larger and a little bit of a redesign, like an ogre or something. Yeah, and taking a little closer look at the back and the just the hunch, and now I can see better in the light. Yeah, they really went far with the neck. Look at that design. So we popped his head back off. Look at how forward that neck piece goes. It would have been cool if it was, just up a little bit more, maybe like that, or recessed back. I mean, yeah, that's really, wow, big change at Whiplash. Like he has a hump or something where he spikes. So I'm not, it's okay. I would have rather have been higher, but I just want to kind of bring it and show you that. So going from the neck back down to the arms, all right, we'll take a typical Whiplash arms, but it has some spines over here, a lot of scales going on. Pretty neat as far as the articulation, go all the way out, down, forward, back. We have the bicep swivel in here. We can bend all the way up the elbow, fist to the face. Yeah, double hinge joint there. It's yeah, got that big goofy gap, but when you close it in, don't look bad. Forearm bracers. Now these bracers feel like oh, check it out, they're spinning. I feel like they can come off. And he comes with, and the other hand's arms all the same as far as design, aesthetics, articulation. He comes with two closed semi-weapon gripping hands, I call it, on the left and right side, and we get two additional hands. And they're pretty soft, so I like that. I'm going to pop one of these off for a second. Let's see. All right, so there's our peg, a typical Masterverse peg. Does these come off? Yep. So check that out. The bracers come right off. You want to customize them, you want to use them on the arms. And there's a closer look at that bracer off the forearm there, and it's yeah, sort of paint a little bit. Has something going on close to this fur piece in the with this armored. And then I put the bracer back on, just slides right over. And I'm going to bring in one of the punching fists. I don't usually use these, but if you're not familiar, so the peg will just pop in there like that. And just like the other hand, it's articulated, it can spin, go in and out. Actually, I'm going to pop this one back off. And this one too, it's articulates in and out, spins back and forth. So moving down to the waist and loincloth area, try to finish up the articulation. So now he can spin at the waist, obviously. We know he can spin up top here. Yeah, the belt looks a little larger than the waist. I guess you can forgive it. Just belt's thicker, something on the outside. Orange belts, looks like its own unique design just for Whiplash. And then he has a typical loincloth here, right? Painted in a blue color, match everything up, the fur up in the bracers and stuff like that. Right, and there's the front, there's the back of it there. As far as the legs, so yeah, really cool legs, scaly, got the bumps going down here, but they look a little different in buzz off and clawful. I thought they would reuse those, well, maybe it's hard to tell because all scales, but there is extra sculpting things going on here as far as the articulation with the legs. So we can go forward, back all the way like that. He has a bicep swivel in there, or the, thigh cut. Can bend all the way up like that, but now you can see something here. The legs are also in a hunch position. You can't straighten them out. That's as straight as they can go. See that on both sides. Another thing I'm like, would have liked to be able to straighten his legs out all the way, just like that neck again. Yeah, very just something with an arch position they gave him, like a big ogre. I'll say it again, leaning forward and all hunched like that. Okay, but so go all the way out like that with a split, which is pretty cool. So you want to do some kicks with him, some Mortal Kombat side kicks. Kind of looks funny because the leg can't straighten out all the way. But going down to the boots, so we know the knees. You can spin at the boot. Boots are really cool. Now the boots too are their own design. I mean, reminiscent of what Whiplash goes back to with the 3 toes and the toe in the back. But they are different from Cloth and Whiplash because I thought that's what they were going to have, and they kind of gave him his own style boots. And here's a closer look at that foot design, all the scales and different sculpting in the boot, so we know he can spin and the foot can go down, up, and rock side to side. So real quick, bringing in the new Eternia Clawful against our new Eternia Whiplash. Yeah, you can see the difference in the boots. So these are very traditional, going back to something like the Classics and the Vintage did. I mean, the Classics had a little bit. It has its own design over the Masterverse, but it was trying to do something similar. This is totally different. The feet in this Whiplash, I just wanted to bring that in. I guess you could if you wanted to. I don't know. The boot looks bigger. I'm assuming the pegs are the same. Maybe heat these up. You could change the boots out. You had a claw if you want to do something like that. You had a 2 figures. I don't know, but just wanted to kind of show you the difference in the boots. So moving on to Whiplash's accessories, we get this cool new, I want to say, new Eternia concept axe. It's colored like in a flat grayish tone, so you do get that. You also get this cool spear going way back to the vintage, what the Classics did. It's like a metallic orange color. And it's, so here's the Classics here as a quick comparison. You can see the, as far as the size and difference between the two. So next you also get a fire torch. That's pretty neat. I like that. You got a flame up top here. It's like in a plastic translucent orange. And I don't know, it's come out? Yeah, okay. So there's the torch without the flame. Pretty neat. You can separate the two. And then you get a pair of punching fists that go on the left and right side. I already tried one on the right side earlier. And of course they're articulated with hinge joints. Check that out. So while we have all the new Eternia armored off Whiplash, he's set up right now in his traditional vintage form. I put his traditional or vintage staff in both hands. You want to check that out. Yeah, what's cool with this too, with the Masterverse, is the articulation, how you can hold a spear now in all different ways, to where the Classics and vintage was very limited. You know, you can just move arms around all kinds of different positions, which is cool, or just hold it in one hand like this, spinning it around, up, down. And with his vintage look, of course, keep the spear in the right hand. I just drew that new Eternia axe in the left. Change it up. Take a look at that. Okay, and here's a look. Whiplash all set back up in his new Eternia gear. Right, we got the chest armor, the helmet, and I put the torch in the left hand. This the axe in the right, and of course the belt on. You want to take a look at that. Going back to that new Eternia art, looking pretty cool. And now I just drew the vintage inspired spear in the right hand and kept the torch in the left. And I took the helmet off. You want to mix them up, something like that. So I wanted to bring the new Eternia Ramman in for a little height comparison. Just take a look at the overall aesthetics between these two figures, because they are the 2 newest deluxe figures out now, or coming out. People are finding them anyway. So you want to look at those 2 together. And we know that Whiplash or the Masterverse don't technically have any action features, but let's let's make our own up with the tail. Knock Ramman out, see what it looks like. Got our Ramman, get ready to ram him in position. Bend the tail up a little bit. I'm going to hold the legs and waist. I'm looking at him like that, and let's see. Okay, so moving on to a little customization, head swaps, part swaps, whatever we can do. Of course, we have our Classics on the left side here, and of course, new Eternia Whiplash. Now, of course, he's a lot bigger figure, but let's see what parts we can switch off with the new Eternia to the Classics, and we'll try the heads and stuff back and forth. So taking a look at the Classics, now we have the new Eternia armored, chest armored on. That does fit, but it is very loose. It's as far as I can get the straps on. Okay, so in the back, it doesn't look bad because it kind of like goes up against that tail section there, but it does work. I can't get the belt on. The belt I can get on, but it's just too big. It hangs and falls off. Even if you try to wrap it around the tail and it's too short, it misses. So it's like you can't win. I mean, you kind of modify it, but if you want to somehow, it looks something like that on the figure, I guess. And then the helmet does fit the head pretty good, so you want to take a look at that. I drew the axe in hand. And the Classics, the other hand was like in more of an open position, so I can't get a weapon. It was actually for this 2000X inspired weapon. We'd hold it in the hand like that. But I'm going to take a look at that, and this is what he would look like with the helmet off and just that armored on. So here's the other alternative head the Classics came with. It's a 2000X inspired head from that show, or the toy. So let's pop that on the body and see if the helmet fits on that. Okay, so there's the head on the Classics body and the helmet. We got the weapon in hand, of course. Yeah, it doesn't really, it does sit on there, but it sits very high, you know, because it's just the type of horns and the design. But it could work if you wanted to. And that's the head on that body, with just the armored on. You want to check that out without the helmet. So while we're still on the classics, kept the armored on, of course, axe in hand. This is the Masterverse Whiplash head I was trying to put on the classics body. It does not work. There's not enough. You can just see the peg. It's a whole different design because of that hunched, that arch in that Masterverse back or something like that. So you kind of just sit it there. I try pushing it down. It doesn't even feel like there's enough recess in the peg to hold the head up. Again, maybe you can modify it. It does sit there, but if you want to take a look at that, what it look like on a classics body. Something like that. So moving back to the Masterverse Whiplash body, I put the 2000X Classics inspired head on, and that looks pretty cool. That don't look bad at all. I had to force it on. It is kind of tricky. You should heat it, but it does articulate and go back and forth. And the colors can work because he has different shades and yeah, just between the armored on the chest, the back, the arms, and stuff like that. So it can work. It looks pretty cool, and it actually, I think it looks a little bit. It doesn't seem as hunched or as cut like this one does. It seems to stand up straighter. I mean, you still see the hunch, but it does stand up straight and look better, I think. So now here's a look with the new Eternia armor on the chest, the belt. I put the Classics 2000X inspired weapon in the left hand. He can hold it well. And I kept the Classics 2000X inspired Whiplash head on this body and put the helmet on too. That's what it looks like without it on. Or you can use it. Doesn't look too bad. You can make it work, but I like that look a lot better with that head. I don't know what it is. And now taking a look at the Masterverse body, still set up with all the new Eternia armor and 2000X weapon. I put the traditional classics, vintage inspired head on a Masterverse body. That looks really cool too. And now here he is with the helmet on that classics head on the Masterverse body. And now here's the Masterverse body with the vintage inspired classics Whiplash head on it. And yeah, it took all the armor off, of course. And that too, I don't know what it is. I just like the classics heads better. They seem to look up further. I don't know. In my eye, you don't see as much a hunch now, only back here. But like the regular head, it really looks forward or something. But the classics head works great on this Masterverse setup, I think. So for one last comparison, a little bit of customs, if we can even do any with the Origins Whiplash. Of course, we have our Masterverse Whiplash next to our Origins Whiplash, so you could take a look at those two together as far as size and design. So with the Origins, I want to try a head swap because the peg's usually the same as the Masterverse. So pop his head off and put the Masterverse Whiplash head on that body and take a look at that. Here's a close-up look with the Masterverse Whiplash head on the Origins body. So it fits the peg perfect. The articulation was a little better now because of the neck straight up with the Origins. So go forward, back, spin left to right. We'll take a look at that. And then color, it's okay. There's a little wash to it, but it can work on this body. And while I had the classics out, I want to throw the classics vintage inspired Whiplash head on the Origins body. That looks, that perfect. Good as it can get. Now, obviously, here's a comparison between the Whiplash going back to the vintage and what the classics did. But yeah, it's awesome. And I also want to throw on that 2000X inspired classics head on the Origins body. Again, looks great. Colors match. Just got to push it down a little bit more. But yeah, the classics heads are winning this one as far as the Masterverse and Origins goes. All right, so sticking with the overall design of the classics, I put his regular Whiplash head back on that body. I did throw the armored on from the Masterverse, obviously. It can work, but here's a problem. The straps are just, it's very loose in the back. And you can't pull this any tighter. It has the two buckles here, and that's it. You could modify it. Maybe you have to cut this back and tighten it if you wanted to do such a thing. But it could, just sitting there. It's not terrible, but it is kind of big on that body. And, of course, we'll try the helmet on the Origins head. So, yeah, it could work. Same thing like the classics because of the ears of design. It's kind of sits off too tall. You can, all right, there you go. The ears can go through got to fill around with it a little bit. All right, there you go. Something like that. And there's no way the belt's going to work. I mean, once again, you could cut it, if you want to modify it to fit tighter like the chest harness. It would look something like that. If you had a spare Whiplash, you want to set it up. And here's a quick group shot of all three Whiplash figures together at our Origins, Masterverse, and Classics. And there's a comparison from the side. And then their overall looks from the back. Okay, so that was pretty much my review on the new Masterverse, new Eternia Whiplash figure. We tried a bunch of different parts. Looked at different setups with them with the new Eternia concept armor, weapons, helmet, tried some classics parts, mix what we call origins and yeah, the classics. I think he's a really cool figure. You know, they're trying to do something a little different with him. He's very monstrous, or as I said, ogre-like. It kind of reminds me of, you know, with the yeah, the torch, this type of armor and helmet. And you can change him over more to the traditional Whiplash, going back to what the classics and the vintage did. But he does look different. Now, I got to be honest, it is a good head sculpt. It's not bad, but I think the classics heads work better. And it's because of the cuts in them. You can actually, you know, like I showed earlier in the video, they can sit upright more. And he doesn't have that just over the top hunch that I don't really care about so much. It's not terrible when the armor's on, you're looking at it this way, but when it's off, or depending on your position head, I really see it. The other thing I could have did without too is the legs were in a bent, hunch position. I wish you could straighten them out all the way. It's not terrible. The boots are pretty neat too. I like that they, you know, went a little different design in Whiplash, or the, you know, the the new Eternia buzz off or clawful. So it's kind of reminiscent, but it's its own thing. So that's neat. Tails, I like the tail with the bendy wire in it. That's a good idea too. You know, you get some neat weapons and all that good stuff. Aside that, I think it's I like the design. I do. Aside that little cut in the head. And to be honest, I might use a spare classics head to go on that body. I don't know. I just I'll play around with it. Anyway, he's going to be a Target exclusive. Should be up for pre-orders June or July this month or into next month. And I heard now he's on pre-order at Big Bad Toy Store. So maybe go over and check it out. Hopefully it answers everybody's questions. I appreciate all you guys watching. And until next time, take care.